Thank you for joining us, and if you have your name and address for the record.
Yes. My name is Sally McLeod-Miller, and I live at 7 Christopher Street. My property abuts the applicant's property, presently known as the Randwood estate. I will be directly affected by commercial or residential development at this site. I have lived at this address for approximately 17 months. I chose this home and location with confidence that it would remain a residential neighborhood because that is what the town's official plan states. The cohesive character of residential areas shall be preserved and improved. It is not intended for spot zoning. There is no compatibility between this application and the existing residential zoning at 144-176 John Street and all abutting residential properties. I reject this application of an amendment or a change to the town's official plan and request for a zoning change from residential to commercial, and I reject the credibility of the application. I reject this endorsement by the town's planning department, and frankly, I'm quite disappointed with what we've got in front of us here tonight. I do so after lengthy investigation and inquiry, after lengthy discussions with members of council, regional council, and the planning department. In other words, I reject it from an informed assessment. I have viewed the site plans, both original and revised, and as was stated, again, we have one sprung to us tonight, which we haven't had a chance to really look at. I've looked at the elevation drawings, the full application on DVD, and this recommendation by the town's planning department. I was asked, what do I want? By council, by the planning department, and I consistently answered, I would like to see a neighborhood impact study, a noise study, a defined use of building number 7, once called the Distribution Center, now called the Arts and Learning Center. I read this recommendation and find neither study is mentioned, nor is there clarity on building number 7. I will start with noise. If you could turn to page 10, I think you will have it in front of you. You will see halfway down, there is mention. This is the section where questions from the last meeting have been placed on here and the answers from the planning department follow. It says, the question is from someone, there will be noise from the restaurant. The planning department answers is concerned with the following. The restaurant is located within the manor house. While there will be seasonal outdoor seating in the piazza is sunken and surrounded primarily by the hotel building, which will act as a sound barrier. But what I remember from that meeting was there were several reasonable citizens discussing concerns of car traffic noise, service truck noise, loading dock noises, HVAC systems on top of buildings, people talking noise, wedding band noise, wedding DJ noise, metal ramp to underground parking, and the opening and closing of those garage doors, that kind of noise. The list went on and on. So I find that the planning department only talked about one form of noise, and it's inside a building. It does not seem fair to what happened that night and to the real concerns. To represent this concern of noise is associated with only one restaurant that is located inside the building, I find this dishonorable, and it's not the truth. Number 2, the piazza is justified as being only seasonal. Sounds very harmless on paper, but as a reminder, this is Niagara, known for the longest growing season and highest temperatures of Ontario, which means the seasonal runs from April to November 1st. That's 8 months. So who's kidding whom here? The majority of the year, that piazza will be open for business. And it won't be just a piazza. The proposed events pavilion has an interesting outdoor entrance attached to it. And if you can go to your site map, you will see it. Where the carriages come in, it says, they call it, the proposed events pavilion has an interesting outdoor entrance attached to it. Do we know what the purpose of this entrance is? It's called an outdoor entrance. Well, the size of it suggests it's intended for many people. Could be 250 people from the events pavilion, could be the 500 intended for the conference building. What we know is it's large enough for tables, chairs, a bar, and orchestra. Old Town residents and business owners need to know what exactly is the purpose of this enormous space. Further, please note that no building will act as a sound barrier to this outdoor bar and catering events entertainment space. The noise of a potential 500 people celebrating weddings and concerts every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night for 8 months will expropriate the town's airspace. And as other people said before me, noise is an enormous issue that we must look at and understand. It can't just be solved by a few bushes. Finally, number 3, since when does noise and sound travel in a linear line? The planners reason that the piazza noise will be buffered by a building. Well, to suggest that one building can alone shield noise is pure nonsense. And you have to look at the science. The neighborhood impact study is not even mentioned. Page 15 of the report mentions compatible developments should coexist with existing developments in harmony without causing undue adverse impact. Well, the noise from a wedding facility with outdoor pavilions, restaurants, parking, skating rinks, 106 rooms, swimming pools, service and distribution traffic does not constitute compatibility with the existing developments of the neighborhoods. Building number 7. Much like the strange World Trade Center building number 7 of the 9/11 conspiracies, the one that mysteriously collapsed blocks away from the airplanes, we have our own mysterious building. First, the size was 10,563 square feet. In this recommendation, it is dropped to 9,563 square feet. Further, it states on page 2 of Appendix E, and you do need to look at that. Appendix E right here. It says that only 2,900 square feet of this arts and cultural building can be used for arts and culture. So that leaves 6,437 square feet for something else. I'd like to know what the purpose of that other 6,437 square feet is, because they're being told it can't be for arts and culture. So why are we allowing this building to be called an arts and cultural center when only 1/3 of it is devoted to such an endeavor? And further, following that line of reasoning, how can you allow this building, how can you allow 2,900 square feet of a development of a 122,360 square feet be the main driving force for this planning department to approve this application? The arts and culture component is so tiny when you start to look at the data. And if you look at the math, you will see what we're all trying to warn you about. This is what worries me. Things just don't add up. There is still too much vagueness with this recommendation. What are you really approving? What is the truth behind this application? And what is the truth in this recommendation? It is my request that you send this recommendation back to the planning department and seek a neighborhood impact study, a noise study, and salt industry of building number 7. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd like to ask our 14th speaker to come forward, and we have some space at the front for speakers 15 and 16 if you wish to take a seat in the on-deck circle there. And sir, if I could have your name and address for the record, and don't forget to speak right into that microphone, please, sir.
My name is Ian Ewan, and I live on 604 Victoria Street. Mr. Chairman, Lord Mayor, members of Council, I appreciated what we're seeing tonight has some changes, maybe even some significant changes of what has been proposed before, but I feel it still falls short of what should be recommended and considered for approval by this Council. I will address just a couple of points briefly. I believe in the conservation area, on which I spoke at another meeting, buildings 5 and 7 appear to be sited extremely close to the conservation area, if not within it. Infringing on it, I think you might at least say that they are sailing very close to the wind, to draw another metaphor. And also it says that the existing hedgerow will be maintained on the southwest corner there. We heard not a week ago from the developer of the Evergreen Estates that it is not possible to maintain vegetation sited so close to a building during construction. I think this should be borne in mind by the council when they consider the statements made by this developer. I'd also like to draw attention to the economic assessment. A marketing study has been done, but it does not appear to take into account the broader elements of the economic assessment impact on this area. A kilometre away to the west, as mentioned previously, another convention centre was proposed 3 years ago at the Pillar and Post. They recently applied for an extension of the site plan. Due to economic conditions, they have not built that centre, that conference centre. Do we see the same pattern unfolding with this proposal? Another 3 years extension of the site, another 3 years maybe not being built. Where is the limit to this sort of airy-fairy economic assessment? I would also say that perhaps you can say that this doesn't affect people living in Virgil, doesn't affect those living in McNabb, maybe even those living on Victoria Street. But I say to you that we should consider the larger effect of these sort of developments. You've all heard of the death of 1,000 cuts. The fabric of Niagara-on-the-Lake, is this the 1,000th cut? Will this affect the ambience which we all admire, and which is the engine, I believe, of all the economic activity that goes on within this town, including the shore? I believe that this may well be the 1,000th cut, which will affect this whole area adversely. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I'd like to call my 15th speaker forward.